may intersect with each other, may not be intersect with each other. So for that, four satellites are chosen. So 3 satellite will determine the position x, y, z, and another 1 satellite will determine the receiver clock bias error. So we will have 4 equations, and using those 4 equations, we will compute the 4 unknowns x, y, z of the user, and user clock with respect to the GPS time. So that user clock bias with respect to the GPS time can be computed with the help of the GPS. And then the user clock will behaves as an atomic clock, what clock we have on the receiver on the satellite side. Means it will have it will get the error as long as the receiver will remain on. Okay, next. Means receiver clock will get the stability of the atomic clock, even it is a simple quartz clock. Okay, next. So this slide is showing the GPS signal generation. So this is a simple means showing the generation. So there are two codes, two carriers. One is a L1 carrier and another one is a L2 carrier. So nowadays they are using modern signal also on at L5 bands. So at L1, there is a civilian code which is called C by A code, course and acquisition code. It is 1023 bit long and 1 milli, or it has a period of 1 millisecond. So the means this code, and there is a navigation message. Navigation message contains the satellite ephemeris, means satellite location, and satellite clock bias error. So the C by A code and navigation data means XORed with each other. Means the navigation signal generator will do the modulo to sum of the C by A code and navigation data, and both are then multiplied with the carrier. Means BPSK module, navigation signal unit will do the BPSK modulation and then transmit the signal. At the L2 carrier, there is a P code, which is the precise code. It is 38 week long. So that code is truncated into the 1 week long, and each satellite is allotted 1 week long code. So P code is at L1 carrier as well as L2 carrier. But at L1 carrier, C by A code and P code are orthogonal to each other. Means one will be multiplied with a sine carrier, another will be multiplied with a cosine carrier. And then these all signal are multiplexed with each other and transmitted to the user. And then it depends upon the user receiver capability, which signal user receiver can detect and which signal he can decode. So actually P code is a sometimes encrypted for the military use, for the authorized user. So then it is called PY code. So means P code is known to all the user, but sometimes it is encrypted, then it will not be known to all the user. But currently many technologies has came and receiver can do the semi-codeless technique. Actually that encrypted code is 40 millisecond long. So up to 40 millisecond, user may be knowing what is the code. After 40 millisecond it will get changed. So user can do the semi-codeless tracking and can get a range on the P code also. But P code, because P code has a higher chip rate, 10.23 megachips per second, so it is more precise than the C by A code, which is for the civilian. Next. So this is showing the ranging code property. So first of all, C by A code, it is 1023 bits long. So 1 millisecond is the duration of the C by A code. And it has a code period of 1 millisecond. Lambda wavelength is 300 meters. Chip rate is 1.03 megachips per second. And whereas precise code, which is sometimes encrypted and written as PY code, so it is 38 week long. So each satellite is allotted 1 week long code. So it has a chip rate of 10.23 megachips per second and has a wavelength of 30 meter. So it has means ranging accuracy. What we will get using precise code will be much better than what we get C by A code, because having a higher chip rate. Next. So actually this C by A code is a gold code. So they have a different properties. They have a very good autocorrelation and a good cross correlation also. Means when this code is multiplied with the another code, it will give us a zero. Ideally it will give us a zero, and whenever it will multiply with itself, it will give us a peak. So this slide is showing whenever the code is matching with the transmit code, means receive code is matching with the transmit code, we will get a correlation peak, and receiver will assume that this is a code phase, and means this is a code phase and carrier phase, and accordingly it will come to the pseudo range. It will do the pseudo range measurement. So what happens whenever the satellite transmit a signal, receiver will generate the replica of same code. Then when the signal is received at the receiver end, whatever the satellite has transmitted, received at the receiver will pull back its own replica, and it will pull back its own replica till that time it get a match with the transmit code. Once the matching is achieved, the pseudo range measurement and data decoding happens. Next. Okay, this is showing the difference between different GNSS constellation. Like GPS currently have 21 satellites, but 29 satellites, and GLONASS have around 27 satellites. 3 are in spare. Galileo has 17 to 20 satellites. Actually, they were having issue with the atomic clock, and now they are putting passive hydrogen maser clock on their satellites. So currently, they have 17 to 20 operational satellites. Compass has around 41 operational satellites. Then next is showing the orbital period of different satellites. Then frequency, GPS is working in a L band, Galileo, GLONASS, and Galileo are also working in a L band, but different, like GPS is working in L1 and L2, GLONASS is working in L2 and some other band, and similarly Galileo also. Now, spread spectrum technique, like GPS is using FDMA multiple access technique, GPS is using CDMA. GLONASS earlier were using FDMA technique, but designing a receiver for FDMA type of the signal is it little bit challenged. So now they are challenging. So now they are shifting towards the CDMA. Galileo also have CDMA and Compass also have CDMA. So GPS and GLONASS are currently fully operational. Galileo is partially operational, and Compass will be operational, globally operational by 2020. Next. Now, what are the limitation of navigation system? First of all, a user should be able to see the satellite. He should have minimum 4 satellites. Then only he will get a position and time. Then the signal strength is very lower, and it can be easily get an interference with the local or terrestrial signal. Then GPS receiver requires a power also. Then there are different types of the error which also affect our position accuracy. Next. Okay, this sliding different types of the error in GPS or any GNSS system. So first of all, we transmit ephemeris, means satellite location and clock bias error to the satellite, and satellite transmit that information to the user. So the ephemeris itself have a certain error, and clock bias error what we have uploaded, it also itself have certain error. So that error is less than 2 meter. Then signal comes under the atmosphere. So most of the error comes because of the ionosphere, because ionosphere delayed the code and advance the carrier. But because we are transmitting two signal on 2 carriers, so we can avoid the error. For a dual frequency receiver, can avoid the error using simple linear combination. This ionospheric error can be avoided. Then troposphere can also provide certain delay, and there are different models like Cesta-Monial model, Houghfield model to avoid the tropospheric error. And then it comes to the receiver. So receiver itself have certain noise. Receiver also, because it has an electronic, so it will also introduce certain noise. Then surroundings of the receiver also introduces a certain error like multipath error because of the surrounding. Means signal comes from the two directions. So that is called the surrounding error. So if we go through the error budget, if we take all these errors into the account, so the error budget goes around 6 meter for
Hello.
a single. Hello. So the error budget goes around 6 meter for a single frequency user and around 2 meter for the dual frequency user. So this the actual position error is the multiplication with UERE, which I am telling error budget, into PDOP. PDOP is depends upon the geometry of the satellite. In next slide we will discuss. So the error for the GPS receiver, somebody was asking earlier also, will be, suppose the PDOP is around 3. PDOP should be as low as possible for a user. Then it can be around 18 meter. But for the dual frequency receiver, it can be around 6 to 7 meter. And if you have a very good model, you can have 1 meter or 2 meter of error. Next. Okay, now what is a PDOP? PDOP depends upon the geometry of the satellite. So if the satellites are widely spread with each other, like in a second figure, one satellite is at the zenith and rest of the satellite is at lower elevation, then we get a better geometry. We will have a lesser means a small uncertainty area. And if the satellites are very close together, then the measurement will be linearly dependent on each other, and uncertainty area will get increased. So means the satellite constellation is chosen in such a way for any navigation system. Constellation is chosen in such a way that the PDOP, the satellite for any user at any location, uh, means PDOP for any user at any location should be as small as possible. In case of the satellite failure, PDOP will get increased. Next. Now let us discuss about the GPS. Now GPS is providing for a dual frequency receiver. It is providing around 6 meter of error. So suppose we want a more precise location, then we can go for the differential GPS. So here we will have a rover, we will have a base station whose position whose position is exactly known. So it means based on collecting the data of 2-3 days, we can get a more precise location of the base station, or we can say it as a reference station. So and rover who wants to compute his own position. So what happens, both will receive a signal, and means base will send corrections to the rover to the rover to the rover using a terrestrial link, and rover will apply those correction on the measurement received by the GPS, and he will compute his new position, which will be more accurate than the position computed using GPS standalone. Next. Okay, this is showing another example of DGPS. Next. So suppose we are in a DGPS site which have a precise location X and Y, and it received it knows its own location through coordinates or location it knows, and it received a signal from the GPS satellite, and it got a position X plus 5 and Y plus 3. So the correction factor will be means minus 5 and plus 3. So those correction factor it will send to the receiver. Receiver will have a means it will have a GPS receiver as well as DGPS receiver. So it will get a signal from the GPS receiver. So it computes its position like X plus 30 and Y plus 60. And using GPS receiver, it will get a correction minus 5 and plus 3. Next. So it will apply the correction. And after applying the correction, the rover at a remote site will get its correct position X plus 25 and Y plus 63. Next. Now this is showing the concept of satellite-based navigation system. So we can have a different type of the augmented system, like local augmented system, which serves for a local territory. But if we want a wide area uh, augmented system, then we have to go for the satellite-based navigation system. So these satellite-based navigation system have its own monitoring station, own control segments. So those control segments have a certain monitoring station whose location is well known, and they receive a signal from the GPS receiver. They like GPS receiver. GPS signal is GPS satellites are sending a signal to the monitoring station, which is indicated by number 2. Then monitoring station send that data to the master control station, which is at 4, number 4. Then master control station computes the corrections like ionospheric correction and other ephemeris correction, clock error correction, and it upload to the another satellite, which is a geo satellite. And that geo satellite will send those corrections to the user. So user will receive the GPS signal as well as the correction from the geo satellite, and user will apply those correction and compute its own precise location. Next. So what was the needs of ASPAS? Like our civil aviation, they want along with the accuracy, they want continuity, availability, integrity, time of alarm. Means because their operation is related to the life. So the Airport Authority of India and ISRO has developed ASPAS system for Indian territory, which is known as a GAGAN, GPS aided geo augmented navigation system, and it was developed during 2005 to 2008. Later, the concept of IRNSS has came after the sex. So currently there are 3 satellites for Gagan, dedicated for Gagan, like GSAT 8, GSAT 10, and GSAT 15. They transmit a signal at L1 band. Means they transmit a corrections, they transmit a integrity information whether to use GPS or not to the user, to the user. So Gagan is a first satellite-based navigation system which is providing vertical guidance in an equatorial anomaly region. Actually, our India is in an equatorial anomaly region. Means equatorial anomaly region, which is 13 degree away from the equator. So in equatorial anomaly region, there will be more disturbances in our ionosphere. During March and during September, you will see lot of loss of log in a GPS receiver or other navigation system receiver because of the ionosphere. So this is the first navigation system which is working in a equatorial ASPAS system which is working in a equatorial anomaly region. So it provide a ionospheric error also to the user. So it uses a certain grid-based model which we have adopted for IRNSS also. Okay, next. So they also have a monitoring station whose they are the reference station called INRIS. So currently there are 16 monitoring stations all over the world, all over the India. Then they have a master control station at Bangalore and Delhi. And these master control stations receive the data from the reference station. They compute the corrections, they compute the confidence and time of alarm messages, and that messages is sent to the INLUS, which is a uplink station, and that uplink station uplink those messages to the geo satellite. So the user, which is a civil aviation, they receive a signal from the GPS satellites through the GPS receiver, and Gagan signal from the ASPAS receiver, and they apply those corrections and do the vertical means do their operations. Okay, next. So this picture is showing GPS standalone position error and ASBAS position error. So for the civil aviation purpose, actually the error should be lower than 6 meter. So what we have achieved with the Gagan is less than 1.5 meter. And okay, next. So what is the utilization? It is designed for the civil aviation purpose, and apart from civil aviation purpose, we can use it for many other applications where precise positioning are required, like agriculture, forestry, remote sensing, GIS, and other purposes. Okay, next. So Gagan has received a certificate for en route operation RNP point 1 the 13 means doing as a receiver along with GPS receiver, they will get a position error of 1.1 nautical mile. They will be anywhere within zero point 0.1 nautical mile. And Gagan has got a certificate for the vertical guidance, which is APV1 during 2015. Means for a category 1 type of the operation, category 1 type of the landing, they can use Gagan. Category 1 means where the runway will be visible from 200 from the height of 200 feet. Okay, next. Okay, now IRNSS, which is also known as Navigation in Indian Constellation. So there are 7 satellites. Okay, next. So there are 7 satellites, and it is an independent satellite-based navigation system. Means we are not dependent upon any other navigation system. So we have 7 constellation of 7 satellites, out of which 4 are in GSO, and they are sometimes called inclined GSO because they have an inclination of 29 degree. And there are 3 GEO satellites which are sometimes called GSO also because they have an inclination. Because GEO is a ideal orbit where the eccentricity or inclination will be 0, but actually we cannot achieve 0 eccentricity. And these GEO satellites have a inclination of 5 degrees. So this an IRNSS is designed to provide a position, navigation, and timing service in Indian region and 1500 kilometer away from the Indian boundary. So currently we are getting the position accuracy better than 15 meter using a dual frequency receiver. Means this is a target of achieving 15 meter. Actually, we are getting 6 to 7 meter using a dual frequency receiver. And timing accuracy, targeted timing accuracy is better than 20 nanosecond. Next. So this is showing the coverage area of IRNSS. So primary coverage area means whatever the targeted accuracy and targeted timing accuracy that is defined for the primary service area. The extended service area is shown in a green line. For an extended service area means for a full coverage and for more number of the satellites, we will have an extended IRNSS in future where we will transmit 4 more satellites. But currently we are serving only primary service area. Next. So IRNSS also have a 3 segments. One is a space segment, which is a constellation of satellites, and then control segment, and then user segment, civilian and military. Next. So in space segment, we have 7 satellites, 3 in GEO and 4 are in GSO, and this is showing the location of GEO satellite. Like GEO satellite is 32.5 degree longitude, 83 degree longitude, and 131.5 degree longitude. And GSO are at the longitudinal crossing of 55 degree and 111.75 degree. So this is showing the sub-satellite path of the satellite. So satellites are designed in such a way like if means to achieve the GDOP of less than 3 at any location in India. So whenever the satellites, the combination of satellites at 55 degree, they are widely separated from each other. The satellite at 111.75 degree, they will meet with each other. So in this way, we are means maintaining the GDOP of less than 3 degree. Next. So this is showing the ground segment. So in ground segment, we have 17 monitoring station, which is called IRIMS, IRNSS Range and Integrity Monitoring Station. These are one-way monitoring station. They knows their location very precisely. They receive the signal from the satellites, and the purpose of this monitoring station uh, is to do the orbit determination and ionospheric error estimation. Then, because the IRIMS is doing the one-way range measurement, because the clock at the IRIMS station and clock at the satellites are different, so there will be error because of the clock. So we have a CDMA ranging station which provide true ranges. Means the clock timing stamp and receiving stamp are from the same clock which is at the receiver. So this CDMA ranging station will send a signal to the satellite and again receive the signal from the satellite and then compute the range and then apply the trilateration or other method for computing the orbit of the satellites. Then because CDMA, we are new in the CDMA, then we have hired a certain laser ranging station from the international agencies, and laser ranging station transmits laser beam to the GEO or GSO satellites, and GSO satellites and GEO satellites have a laser refractometer, so that transmit back the laser ray to the station. So through that we compute the range. So laser ranging have a accuracy of 2 to 3 meter. Our CDMA ranging system has a ranging accuracy of around centimeter to meter, and IRIMS have a ranging accuracy of around means in a meter level. Okay, so all that data from the laser ranging station, CDMA ranging station, IRIMS will go to the master control station, which is called INC, ISRO Navigation Center, or IRNSS Navigation Center, which is located at Bangalore and Lucknow. So this INC will compute, will collect the data from all the station. It predict the future orbit and future clock error. So somebody was asking me why we require a atomic clock. So that's why we require a stable atomic clock, because we are predicting the clock. We are predicting a clock for a day. So we require a clock which can follow those predictions. Suppose we are using a quartz crystal, it can drift very easily within a very small of time. So in all our satellites also have a rubidium clock. There are 3 rubidium clock, and 1 rubidium clock is working at a time, and rest of 2 rubidium clock are working in a standby mode. Next. So we have 17 range and integrity monitoring station. They will monitor the integrity of IRNSS signal. Currently, we have established 16 number of the IRIMS station in India as well as in foreign, and we are going to establish 5 more station in foreign to have more better orbital accuracy. Then we have a navigation center which receives the signal from all the monitoring station and from all the other station. Then we have 2 network IRNSS network time facilities. They are at Lucknow and Bangalore, and they maintain the IRNSS time. Means all the satellite clocks are synchronized with this IRNSS network time facility, which is located at Bangalore and Lucknow. And this IRNSS network time facility generate a clock from the hydrogen major clock, which have a stability of 10 raised to power minus 15 and ensemble of other cesium clock. So based on 2 hydrogen major clock and 7 cesium clock, it generate a clock for the IRNSS. Then we have a CDMA ranging station. There are 4 CDMA ranging stations, and we are going to set up 2 more CDMA ranging stations for better orbital accuracy. We have hired laser ranging station from international agencies, but because laser ranging station have its own drawback, that they do not provide data during the daytime. They do not provide the data during the cloudy weather. So we are going to establish laser ranging station, but currently we are getting the support from the international agency only during the launching of the satellite, because during the launching of the satellite, clock are not set as according to the clock at the network time facility. So in order to get a more true precise range or true range, and in order to get a orbit, means in order to reduce the convergence time of the algorithm, we uses this laser ranging station and CDMA based ranging station. Then we have a satellite clock control facility at Bhopal and Lucknow. So whatever the navigation messages and whatever the clock bias error computed, whatever the alert flag we need to upload to the satellite, that is uploaded by this satellite control facility. Okay, next. So this is showing the geographical location of IRIMS station. So currently we have 14 IRIMS station in India and one at Mauritius. So these IRIMS station have a IRNSS antenna, which is a dual frequency antenna, and this antenna has a very good noise figure, very good gain, which cannot be achieved in a user antenna. Then we have IRNSS receiver. This is a means reference receiver. It knows its own location, and it is different from the user receiver because it do the signal quality monitoring. It does the integrity monitoring and other work also. Then that data from the IRNSS receiver is collected in a server and sent back to the INC. So these are the unmanned station we have. Next. Then we have a IRCTR station. These are the bigger station where we have a 11 meter of parabolic antenna, and we have a more baseband and RF equipments. So the first figure is showing the antenna, 11 meter antenna. So these are 4 IRCTR station, and actually these all IRCTR station are synchronized. So we also have a receiver, timing receiver, which get a time from the which get a time from the IRNSS satellite, and all IRCTR station get a time from the IRNSS satellite, and the server at IRCTR station works based on the IRNSS time. So suppose we are giving a command to the antenna to move towards the satellite. So all 4 IRCTR station will move at the same time. So we are doing the ranging of the satellite at the same time. Then we are doing the trilateration or other method for computing the orbit of the satellite. Okay, next. So this is indicating the features of IRNSS signal. So it will be available for 24/7. It has a dual frequency. It transmits dual frequency signal L5 and S-band, and the navigation message is FEC encoded. So we have done a convolution encoding with a rate of 1/2. And for the single frequency receiver to provide a more accuracy, we have used ionospheric grid-based model. So there are 2 models which we are transmitting. One is a coefficient-based model, which is a Kullbucher model. So it avoids only 50% of the error, which is used in GPS system also. But for the Indian user, we have another method to compute the ionospheric error. That is a ISRO grid-based model. So we have divided the whole India into the 90 grids, and these monitoring station, the data collected from the monitoring station, so that we are computing the vertical delay of the ionosphere at alpha band at each grid. Then we are uploading it to the satellite, and user will receive that information and accordingly compute the ionospheric delay. Then there is a custom message service. Means this is for the another purpose. Next.
Yogesh sir. Actually, Arvind sir.
हाँ सर बोलिए.
हाँ, we have only 2 minutes. So how many slides remain?
Okay, now it will get completed within 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
not more than.
Okay. Sir, हमें फिर से एक बार rejoin करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए.
ठीक है.
Okay.
हाँ, अभी थोड़ा continue करो 2 मिनट बाद.
Yeah.
Okay. So IRNSS is also providing 2 types of the service. One is a standard positioning service, in which we have a signal which have a chip rate of 1 megachips. It is just similar to the GPS signal. Then there is a restricted service which is dedicated for military user. So that code is not known to the civilian people, but SPS code is known to the civilian people. Currently, we are using what information I have for the restricted service. We are using 1 year long code. Means for new satellite, we will put 1 year long code for the restricted service user, so that it cannot be easily jammed or it cannot be easily spoofed. Okay, next. So our SPS code, which is for the civilian, it is just similar to the GPS code. It is also gold code. So it will have a very good auto correlation property. Whenever the signal will be multiplied with its when multiplied with its own code, then only it will show the peak, and else it will show a flat line. Means cross correlation is around 24 dB. Next.
Sir, we will start from a new session.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Just click on same.
On a same given ID.
Mm.